There are two main places where you can view the item price form. The first place is from Inventory Management, Setup, Costing, and then Costing Versions. Here you can select the costing version that you want to view the prices for, and then click Price and then Item Price. When you access the form from this version of the screen, you'll be able to see all pending prices and all active prices regardless of the item. You'll notice that there are no pending prices for this particular costing version. However, if you go to the Active Prices tab, you can see that there's one active price. The other technique is to access this form from the Released Products form. You can access that from Product Information Management, and then Common, and then Released Products. You'll select the product that you want to view the item prices for, and then click the Manage Costs tab in the Action pane, and then click Item Price in the Setup group. In the item price form, the user can view and maintain item cost records for a specific costing version, effective dates, and sites when you use the multi-site functionality. The data maintenance will include entering pending costs, which is found on the Pending Prices tab. When you activate a pending price by using the Activate button in the Action pane, they will disappear from the Pending Prices tab and appear on the Active Prices tab. For this particular item, you can see that a standard cost has been created, but no price is entered. If you scroll to the right, you'll notice that this particular price was calculated, so the price field is disabled and you cannot type into it. The calculation was performed by using the Calculation button. If you want to manually add a cost, you can click the New button to create a cost, select the costing version. If required, you'll want to select the site, and then you can type in a price. You can also type in the price unit, which indicates how many units of the item this price applies for. By default, this will be 1. You can also add in charges, fixed prices, onto a price by typing into the Price Charges field and then selecting the price quantity. For example, if I wanted to add a $10 handling fee or stocking fee into this item's cost price, I can do that and say for every 1,000 I keep in stock, an additional $10 will be added into the price. When the Include in Unit Price checkbox is selected, that additional $10 will automatically be included in the unit price when using purchases or sales. In the From Date field, you can select the date. This will always default to the current date, but if this price is for a date in the future, you can specify that. It is not possible to enter a date that is in the past. When you activate a price, the price or the date that's specified here will always update to the current date if it is for a date in the past. When you're ready, you'll want to save the record, and then you can click the Activate button. This will make the record disappear from the Pending Prices tab, and now it will appear on the Active Prices tab. Next, let's close this window down and find an item that has a bill of material. I'll select this mid-range speaker and then open up the item price form. It is possible that you can calculate the standard cost for a finished good item that includes a bill of material, but it's also possible for purchased goods in AX 2012. You can configure indirect costs by using the costing sheet, which will then be added into the base purchase price. For this particular item, you can see what the current cost price and purchase price is in Site 1 and Site 5. If we go to the Pending Prices tab, I'll be able to calculate a new price. You can see that one is already pending, but I'll go ahead and recalculate a new price by clicking the Calculation button in the Action pane. This will open up the calculation for an item form. Here, you'll need to select which costing version you want to use. I'll select the 2014 costs version that we created earlier. Then, in the site field, you'll want to select which site you want to calculate for. If there are BOM versions for multiple different sites, this could change which cost is calculated. The calculation date will always default to today's date, and then you can select the BOM. The system will attempt to automatically select the BOM based on the site and date that you've selected. If one is not selected, you'll want to use the drop-down box to select one. In the item procured using, you'll want to select which technique is used for procuring this item. In this case, this item is procured using production flow. That is configured on the default order settings form, but you can manually override this by selecting one of the other options such as production order or purchase order. Next, in the quantity field, you can specify the number of items that you want to calculate the cost for. By typing 100 into this field, AX will automatically extend the amounts in the BOM calculation for the quantity required to produce 100 of this particular item. You'll notice over on the right-hand side the calculation type information and the fallback principle. These settings cannot be overridden as they are controlled by the costing version. If you want to update these settings, you'll need to create a new costing version that has the appropriate settings. Next, on the Price Recording and Version tab, you can select the options of what you would like to calculate. These will default from the costing version that's selected on the General tab. Next, on the Warnings tab, you can configure the warnings that you want to receive. These will be calculated by default based on what's configured for the cost group, which could be different for each item within the BOM calculation. However, you can override this and select the options for this particular calculation. I'll go ahead and mark the No Cost Price checkbox and indicate that I want to receive a warning if the cost price is more than 60 days old. You can also select options to identify missing updates or to have the system display information whenever the fallback costing version is used. When you're ready, you'll click OK to run the calculation. Here you can see all the various different warnings. In this case, these different items have a warning. This first item is indicating that the cost used for the calculation has a warning, so I would need to follow up on this. You'll notice that this item, A0001, is missing a cost price. So the calculation is not including the cost of that particular item. When you're done, you can close this window, but you can re-access it by clicking the Log button in the Action pane. Here you can see that the price is calculated as $412.76. To view the details of how this calculation was completed, you can use the Summary button or the Complete button. Let's start with the Summary button. The Summary button will give you a breakdown by cost group of each of the different components that are included. You cannot see the individual items in this screen. However, the costs are rolled up into the cost groups. So for L1, all of the items that are assigned to the L1 cost group, the total cost is $2.45. If you go to the General tab, you can view some additional information about that particular cost group, and the Graphics tab will allow you to view the costs in a graphical format. In this case, I'm looking at it in a bar graph. You can use the buttons at the top of the form to change the chart layout. So for example, if I wanted to look at it in a pie graph instead, I can select pie. Then the graph will update. You can see that most of the costs are coming from the overhead 4, and the other portions are such a small percentage that they cannot be viewed. The View tab allows you to decide which elements will be displayed and to control how the graph will work. In this case, just the cost group and level are being displayed. If you wanted to include the item, unit, operations, and so on, you can mark the checkboxes. You can also specify what you want to display on the x-axis and for the z-axis of the chart, and whether you want to show cost prices or sales prices. Next, let's close this window and take a look at the complete information. When you open the complete button for a calculation, you'll be able to see the full details of every single item, resource, and indirect cost. Here you can see the cost group. So if you were to sort this list by cost group, you can see that the L1 group consists of just one item. However, the L2 group consists of one item and one indirect cost. For each line, you can see the consumption that's assumed based on the production quantity entered, the cost per lot, what that lot size quantity is, and the cost price per unit and sales price per unit. If weight information is configured in the bill of material, you'll also be able to see the net weight per unit. The log column indicates if there is a warning for this particular item. You can use the log button at the top of the form to view the warnings or error messages that exist for each line. If you click through the other tabs, you can view additional information. Here on the General tab, you can see the basic information that's displayed on the Overview tab, in addition to the complete cost price, sales price, contribution, consumption, if trade agreements exist, and the net weight information. On the Prices tab, you'll be able to see the complete breakdown of the cost price and sales price. The tree structure allows you to drill down into your bill of material in a tree format. Because the line I've selected is not a bill of material, the tree is just flat with one node. If you were to select another node that was for another sub-BOM, then you would be able to see the tree and navigate it that way. The last tab is the costing sheet. The costing sheet is configured separately in the inventory management module. To learn more about how to configure the costing sheet, you can refer to the Inventory Costing and Valuation Hands-on Lab for Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012. Here, when you select to view the costing sheet, you can decide if you want to look at it in total, in single mode, or in multi-mode. You can also specify if you want to look at it per unit, per lot size, or based on a specified quantity. The lines of the costing sheet are created in the costing sheet form, and here the system rolls up the costs based on those costing sheet versions and categorizations that were created. When you're done, you can close the window. The last option you have available for analyzing the calculation is the Print button. You can access this by clicking the Print button and then clicking OK to print the costing information that was calculated for this selected BOM calculation line. Here you can see a sample of the calculation that's printed out to my screen. You can see that the details from the complete screen are basically output onto the paper. I'll close this window, and when you're finished, you'll want to make sure to activate the price. If you do not activate the price, then the price will not be effective and it will not be used on new purchases or sales. So I'll click the Activate button, and now the cost has disappeared from the Pending Prices tab and appears in the Active Prices tab. You will notice that you can access the Summary, Complete, and Print buttons, or the Cost Roll-Up by Cost Group button from the Active tab as well. The Calculate Item Cost form uses the Complete button in the Item Price form and opens up the Calculate Item Cost form. In that Calculate Item Cost form, you can also view the information about costs and sales prices for each unit. the graphical tree structure of each component, routing operation, and indirect cost that is included in the BOM calculation. The graphic tree structure also displays variable costs versus constant costs for a selected item. Additionally, you can view the segmentation of costs in the format that is defined by the costing sheet setup and the trade agreement for a purchased item. The information is especially relevant when the user calculates planned costs with the purchase trade agreements as the source of cost data for purchased items. Purchase prices or line discount options give access to applicable trade agreement information. To navigate to this form, you'll want to click the Product Information Management, Periodic, Bill of Materials, and then Costing Versions. In the Costing Versions form, you'll select the correct version and then click Price and then Item Price. Then, for the active price that you want to view the details for, you can click the Complete button. I just demonstrated this from the Released Products form. The first line, which is Level 0, displays the final cost, sales price, and net weight of the BOM item. If the BOM item is composed of multiple levels, the whole BOM and all related BOM lines are visible. The level field indicates the level at which the line is used in the BOM hierarchy. I'll show you a little bit more about this in our next lesson.